Alright guys, welcome back into another PGA DFS video. This week we got the 2018 PGA Championship. It's being played at Bellevire Country Club in St. Louis. The last time a tournament was played here on the PGA Tour was 2008, and that was the BMW Championship. The last time a major was held here was in 1992, so it's been a long time. At this course it holds 6 par 4s that are over 450 yards, and that's the fifth most among active major courses in the US. So that's a stat that we're going to kind of want to be looking at as par 4 scoring at that length. We're also going to be looking at total driving, putting, sand saves, because there's a lot of sand around the greens. But overall, I think it's a tournament that we can attack, and I'm going to get a lot of exposure here. I'm going to be going pretty hard this week, but let's get into the high tier plays here for you guys. Alright, getting into the high tier here. Obviously we're going to be starting out with Dustin Johnson. He's just in great form. 13 out of his 15 last starts have been top 20 finishes, so it's really hard to avoid him. The only reason you could definitely do that is because he's a little bit higher priced. Some players that you could play that I'm not going to have exposure to are going to be Justin Thomas, Brooks Koepka, Patrick Reed, and Francesco Molinari, touching on a little bit. But I do really like Justin Rose again this week. Touched on it in last week's video before he withdrew. That's the only concern with him is what is his back situation. Really do like Ricky Fowler again this week. I think he's almost the safest play at this range to make the cut and to give you a nice solid top 20 finish. He's in decent form, he is good course fit, and he has 4 straight cuts made at a major. And then Tommy Fleetwood, he's just coming into great form, so I really do like that. He's 4 out of 4 cuts made at the majors. Alright, gonna highlight Justin Rose here. As you can see there in the analysis column right there, 75% of his starts have been top 10 finish, so that's kind of what you're looking for here, and only one of his starts have been outside the top 25, so it's going to be really hard to avoid him again this year. He did have a miscut at the PGA Championship last year, but he wasn't as good form as he is now, so I really do like him as an option. He's checking all the boxes stat-wise, his odds are pretty good, and he's just going to be likely finish in top 15. But let's get into the rangefinders here. Like I said, I could really see myself playing these guys. It's just I like the other high tier players a little bit better. But Justin Thomas is finally coming into good form. Obviously, Brooks Koepka and Patrick Reed have performed well in majors this whole year. It's going to be really hard to avoid those two. Francesco Molinari, he's been playing well this whole year as well. So I think he's a little bit too overpriced for my liking. That's why I'm not going to have as much exposure to him. And then
Alright, getting into the mid-tier here, we got 2 players
that are really just underpriced. Starting out with Jason Day. He's just looked really good lately. Obviously, he has pretty good major history. He did have a little lump in his season where he didn't play that well, but now he's back at it. He's checking all the boxes stat-wise. His form has definitely come around. He's a little bit too cheap. I think he could have been 500 more. Speaking of too cheap, Paul Casey, he's just the guy in the majors that performs well every year. He's the best fit stat-wise according to my model, so I like him. I'm going to have the most exposure to him, probably locking him in. Tony Finau seems like a little bit more of a tournament option. He is in good current form. The stats don't really say he's going to do well this week, but I still like him as a good play. Going to have a little bit lower ownership to him. But Henrik Stenson, I've liked him this whole year. Not going to have as much exposure to him as Jason Day or Paul Casey, but I'm going to like him a lot this week. I'm going to be playing him in many of my lineups as well. Alright, diving into Paul Casey a little bit more. He's just too cheap. I mean, look at his odds to win. That's pretty good. I think he's got a likely finish of the top 15. His average major finish in the last 4 majors is 23, so that's really good. The only problem I have with him is he might be a little bit too high owned. Alright, dropping down to the low tier here. I like all these options a lot. I think they were a little bit underpriced. Kind of a little cheat code that I'm going to share with you guys is my player pools over all the majors, kind of the last 2 years. I've really just been loading up on Mark Leishman, Zach Johnson, Louis Oosthuizen, who else? Ricky Fowler and Justin Rose, and then Paul Casey and Henrik Stenson. So those have been my core, and they haven't really let me down. Definitely going to be going with that strategy again this year. They're checking all the boxes still. They obviously have good major history. Another guy to include in that list is actually Webb Simpson. He's been playing really well. He has really good major history. He's checking all the boxes stat-wise. But just because of the likelihood of those other guys making the cut, I'm going to drop him a little bit lower mid-tier wise. So like I said, I really do like Zach Johnson, just looking at him a little bit more. His stats don't really stick out too much, but he's just a guy that comes to play when it's time for the majors. He does have a low likelihood of winning, so that's why I'm going to avoid him a little bit. in tournaments. Definitely going to be more of a cash option, core play type of play. Get into some rangefinders here. These guys I was all liking. It's just I can't include them all in my player pool to highlight them all. Some players I did really like was Charlie Hoffman. You got Fox. You got Chris Wood. Lee Westwood seems to always play well in majors. Can definitely go with them. Gary Woodland's been playing really well. Bryson DeChambeau, he has a really good shot of winning it, but he also can miss a cut. You never know what to expect with him. Joaquin Neiman's a little bit too cheap. He's definitely way too cheap. He's going to be highly owned. And that's kind of why I didn't include him as a highlighted player in this week's player pool. And Adam Scott, I do really like him as well. All right, getting into the value plays here. This is definitely the section that I think I do the best on in any sport. So for this value play option, I'm going to start out with Stewart Cink. You just look at his current form. He's made 5 straight cuts. 4 of those have been top 25s. 2 of them have been top 10. So he's in good current form. Hao Tong Lee, kind of more the same. 18 out of 22 cuts. 3 of those cuts were top 40s in the majors. Bo Hostler's kind of just a cut maker as well. 21 out of 24 cuts made. He's made 12 straight cuts. And he also has a decent course fit as well. Chris Wood's kind of a guy no one really likes to play. I think he's definitely too cheap. He's got decent major history, decent current form. He's not really a bad fit. So I'm going to be targeting all those guys a lot if I'm dipping below the 7K range, which I don't really think you have to, but I don't really mind that option. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Got the sample lineup here for you guys. Like I said, this is coming out on Sunday, so it's going to change a little bit as the week goes on, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thanks.